company. And that is wrong. The most tragic story I heard was a woman in Wawa. She's in her husband had worked at Abitibi Bowater in Newfoundland, Labrador, where they raised their family. And when he passed on, she got the widow's pension. Okay, that's half of the pension that he was receiving after his 40 years. And that was covering the cost for her in a nursing home as she moved back to where her family was and her people were, so that her grandchildren could be there. She gets a letter from the Abitibi Bowater lawyer saying, by the way, those checks aren't coming anymore. And so suddenly, a widow is left without any support. That's simply wrong. And with an insurance program in place, that would never happen. They've got it in the United States. Let's have pension insurance in Canada now to protect retired workers. Fourth, and I think this is one of the most important things, there is no justification for the workers who have put their money, their deferred salaries. Let's remember what a pension is. It's a deferred salary. You've agreed to work with the company, and your union has worked with you to defer some of your salary so you can have a decent retirement. And it was done on the basis of trust. You could have taken that money up front, but instead you put it into this trust. It's your money. Well, that means that whenever a pension fund is in trouble or a company goes bankrupt, the workers should be at the front of the line, ahead of anybody else when it comes to the disposition of the assets. Grâce à notre initiative, les travailleurs d'abord, nous avons déjà obtenu une protection pour les salaires impayés lorsque les compagnies déclarent faillite. C'était un bon travail avec nos amis, nos confrères et consoeurs dans le mouvement des travailleurs. Mais lorsque les entreprises déclarent faillite, le sous-financement des régimes de pension, le passif non capitalisé des régimes n'est pas un créancier prioritaire et on doit changer ça. C'est pourquoi nous avons présenté à la Chambre des communes une loi et on l'appelle le Nortel loi. We're calling it the Nortel law, and this law, which was tabled in the House of Commons by Wayne Marston, a good trade unionist and now our member from Hamilton East Stony Creek, that is putting workers first when it comes to bankruptcies, and we're going to do everything we can to have that law adopted. Now, the last thing we have put forward in our package is sometimes you have, in bankruptcies, there aren't enough assets to go around even if the workers were put in first place. And what they do is they divide up the pension asset at the time when the company is weakest and the economy is weakest and the retirees get the least possible benefit in that situation. We want those, we call them orphaned pension plans. We want them brought in under the ambit of the Canada Pension Plan and be brought back to life, managed by our public pension plan managers as part of the pool so that those retirees can get more protection. So that's the fifth piece of our package. My friends, ce sont les mesures que nous sommes en train de présenter à la Chambre des communes. Et nous avons plusieurs autres, mais ce sont les priorités pour nous. And I say to Stephen Harper, you've got a minority parliament. If you want to get something done for people, you've got to work with the other parties. I know you may not have much of an inclination to do that, but last September, I sat down with Stephen Harper and I took him the stories of people who lost their jobs. I told him about workers who worked sometimes 3 generations in the same plant. And you stand beside them as they're taking and they're moving the equipment out of the plant to ship it over to some low-wage country. And you wonder what the heck is going on. And then you realize that you're 55 years old and the chances are, and you're going to be competing, as one guy said, I'm competing with my daughter for a job at the fast food place. And my daughter gets the job and I don't. It's a really tough time for people trying to find work right now, the hundreds of thousands who've lost it. And that's why we said to the Prime Minister, you've got to extend employment insurance. You've got to add more weeks so that people can have a chance to make it through the winter and perhaps find some work at the other end. And he came forward. I must admit, he surprised me. He brought forward a proposal with $1 billion for those kind of workers. And our caucus decided that it was more important to get $1 billion for tens of thousands of hard-working people who lost their jobs than it was to go into an election. And so we got that $1 billion. It was passed into law just a week and a half ago, and it's on its way to those working families. We're going to fight for those kinds of changes, but it's not a blank check. Stephen Harper has got to deliver for working people. That's the way that we'll keep Parliament working. The moment he decides not to do that at all, well then, we're out of there. We'll go back to the people. And when it comes to issues like what we're witnessing right now, with these cover-ups on the treatment of our detainees, our soldiers are doing a wonderful job. They do what they're told. But when the management are telling them they have to cover up what's going on, that's wrong. And we're going to hold Peter MacKay and Stephen Harper to account for that. And I'm going back to question period to do exactly that this afternoon. So my friends, I simply want to close by saying that this is probably one of the most challenging times that we've all faced together, with the economy being in the difficult state that it's in. On the other hand, sometimes out of those very, very difficult situations, you can carve a new path towards the future. You can actually change the way things have been done. People are open to some more solutions that are more innovative. What we've seen is a tendency for the bank economists and the others to say, well, now we can just go back to the same old. We can go back to the way it was. The glory days are here again. Break open the champagne bottles. Well, I say, we don't say this recession is over until people are back at work. That's when we'll have an end to the recession. So let's get people back to work. Let's work together to make it happen. Thank you very much for being here this morning. And we look forward to working with you in the months to come.